Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video sponsored by Simon Says Stamp. Today we're going to be doing a one-layer card with this super cute stamp set from Pink and Maine. It is called Girlfriend, like, you know, the little sentiment that I picked says, hey girlfriend. It's super cute. Anyway, I really love the stamps that are in this. There's like a little like beach shack and some seagulls, a Woody style vehicle. I don't even, are they called trucks, cars? I'm gonna call them cars. And so I really love them. Fell in love with it right away when I saw it in the Simon store, so had to pick that up because can you believe that, I mean, we're almost through July. This is crazy. I can't, where did summer go? Like, I feel like you wait so long for summer to get here and then it just like breezes by. I'm about to have a kindergartner, yo. Like, oh, my peanut's actually going into real elementary school. I'm kind of freaking out about it. Anyway, so since it is a one-layer card, you want to stamp front to back. So I want the card to be in front of the shack. And I didn't get good pressure in the middle of this, the little beach shack, when I first stamped it. So I had to get up off my tushy and make sure that I gave it really good pressure. Masked that. And then this is going to look a little bit strange, but try to keep in mind that we're building a scene here. So the seagulls are perched on this, like, I want to call it driftwood, but that's not what it is, like these little posts. And so I wanted them to be kind of on like a outlying crop that was sticking out of the water. Speaking of the water, so I'm using Eclipse masking tape, and I just cut a piece that was big enough to kind of cover my card, and then I just tore it in two so that I would have a irregular edge. But one of the things that you have to worry about with this is, because the adhesive is on one side and it is paper, it's a paper mask, that sometimes when you tear it, you can actually tear off just like the top layer of paper and there's no adhesive underneath it. So in order to make sure that they would stay down, Tombow Mono Multi-Glue to save the day, like typical. I use this, I don't even know if I could use any other glue. I know some people aren't a fan of liquid glue, but this is like for sure my go-to. So anyway, I put that on the, like the parts where I ripped off the adhesive and then stuck that down. Also, you want to keep both pieces. We're going to need both. I'm cheating because I'm being lazy. And I'm using the second piece offset to mask the sky, which is going to be where I'm going to start. So I'm using Salty Ocean Distress Oxide ink, and then I'm going to actually start on my mask and bring it toward the edge of the card because I want the skyline to be a little bit darker, like where the horizon is, and lighter toward the top. So I'm just starting on the mask so that way I don't have any weird edges. I had received a comment from one of you about that's just struggling. They were struggling with the putting on of the Distress Oxide, the ink blending, basically. So a couple of tips. You probably heard them already, but this is what works for me. So the sky's done, moving that. Be careful when you're removing your masks for your landscape because sometimes it can catch the masks for your images and you need to make sure those go back down. I have had that problem before in the past where I didn't realize my mask came up and then I end up with like, I don't know, a blue leaf or something weird. Anyway, so for this one, I'm actually going to turn that mask around and mask now the sky portion of it. Sometimes the Distress Oxides and Distress inks, while they're still kind of damp, can make it difficult for it to stick to your paper. You can either heat set it or just kind of wait it out. Once it's dry, it'll stick fine. Or you can do what I do, which is not wait any time at all and hope for the best. You know, fingers crossed. So anyway, back to the Distress inking. So you want to make sure when you ink up, first of all, your pads, whether you use the minis or the squares, which originally came out, if they're not seasoned, meaning there isn't a bunch of ink already on there, it's not going to be the smoothest blend you could possibly get. That's just fact. The more ink you have on there, the easier they are going to blend. So if you're just starting out and you're struggling a little bit with getting some stray marks, maybe just really ink that thing up super good and ink it on some scrap paper. Or ink, just like ink up a piece of cardstock and then spray it or put perfect pearls on it. Make yourself a little background where it doesn't matter if the marks are there. Second thing is when you ink up your ink blender, to tap it off on whatever surface you're working on, your craft mat or, you know, what do I have? My grid paper. Sometimes I ink on top of that. You just want to make sure you're tapping it off so you're not putting on a ton of ink in one area. The other thing is you don't want to go in with heavy pressure right out the gate. And I know that that can seem like it's going to take forever because there's some times where I'm like, this takes forever. But that's typically why I do my distress ink colors twice. So that way I do get really good saturation, but I also get good blending. So you want to go in with light layers. Think of it kind of like colored pencils. You just want to build up that color. You're not typically going to be able to go in with dark color right away and get a super good blend. So those are my tips for that. And of course, starting off the paper. Like, I'm sure you've heard that one 100 times. Start off the paper. Because if you put it directly on the paper, you're going to get circles, squares, weird, what have yous. You know what I'm saying. So I remove the masks now that I kind of have the basis for what my scene's going to be. And then I am going to start with the Copic Coloring to color up my images and then to add some details into the scene that I already have. I cannot tell you how much time and Copic ink, my distress inks or oxides save me. Because I can put down all of that color in the background just by using masks. It makes it just super simple to just go in there and color up the images and add any details that I want to add right on top of them. And I've never had any issues. Some people have asked me about coloring on top of the oxides, if I've ever had like my Copic markers get clogged or anything like that. I've basically been doing it right out the gate since the oxides came out, because honestly, that didn't even occur to me that might be a problem later in life. I have never had any issue coloring over the oxides or having it clog any of my markers. It's been fine. So I picked out some 40s, E40s. They're more on the cool side. And that's what I'm doing the sand with, because I know I'm going to need wood in other areas. And in those cases, I'm going to make it a little bit warmer. So I wanted to give maybe like some tire tracks underneath my little Woody car here. And then I'm also going to do, we talked about, if you've been watching my channel, we talked about stippling the other day. And besides giving texture to your animals, it's another great way to give texture to like your beach scenes. I might have got a little crazy. Like, let's be honest. I might have got a little out of hand with the amount of dots that I put on. This is going to be a pretty shelly beach, but I'm actually okay with it because I think that it gives the card a lot of texture and a lot of interest. And also, I'm not walking on this beach, so I don't care. So just going through with all of the E42, 44, and 47, and then working my way back out with the last color being the E42 to kind of smooth everything out. From there, we're going to start working on the rest of the wood. Remember, I told you I was going to make it a little bit warmer. My go-to is the E50s. I love them. They're pretty much like the perfect browns to me. And it's enough of a separation between the E40 family that I don't feel like it all feels one note. So, yeah, totally feeling like the whole idea of the beach right now. I am actually planning a weekend with the girlfriend weekend. And so hoping to maybe get to a beach or some sun or something. Really what I just need is, as you guys all know, you've been watching the videos, and some of you have figured out by now that the spot that I'm in is my son and I have moved because I'm going through a divorce. We don't typically use that word in front of Peanut because it has a negative connotation, but I'm not going to go into the whole thing. Not that I have no issue sharing my life with you guys, just none. But this part of it is not just my life, and so that's not fair. I will tell you that it was a mutual decision, and that I still very much love my husband and wish him nothing but the best in the future going forward, and hoping to do some wonderful shared parenting in the future. So that's where we're at. I do appreciate all of you have reached out to me and left me comments, sent me cards. This community is just totally amazing with the support that it offers, and I'm very, very blessed to be a part of it. I could not be more grateful to God for leading me to this hobby, and consequently those of you who have become kind of my extended support system. So yeah, just please know that I love all of you. I love you guys so much for your kind words and your encouragement, and you know, your funny antidotes and the things that just like very much you tune in to hear me tell you about my day and the funny stories and things like that, because it's a distraction from your life. It's that little bit of break, a breather. It is for me too, when I can come back after I've posted a video and read your guys' comments, and you know, or if you're on Instagram, you know, the messages, comments that you leave there. I'm just very grateful for all of them. So thank you very much. Back to this card, less heavy, right? Let's get a little less heavy. So the Woody style card that is in here is, basically all I knew about them was that they were somewhat attached to surfers. That's pretty much all I knew. But in Googling, because you know I'm a big fan of the Google, any images that I really don't know how to color particularly, like I knew the panels were going to be wood, but I didn't know if the trim was going to be. Side note, I had to pick a color that matched that cracked pistachio so that you would be able to quote unquote see through the windows. And rather than try to mask that out individually, it's just so much easier to fill it in with a Copic. So that's what I did. But anyway, so I went about Googling the Woody so I could see what they looked like. And then I learned some interesting things. I love knowing all the things. I don't understand people will like ask them a question. Like when my son, will use example, asked me a question. He asked me the one day, what do gorillas eat? Do you know what gorillas eat? Because I didn't know anything about gorillas, except for that they're scary. One of them was in King Kong that one time. That's basically all the information that I had about gorillas. So, like, he and I Googled it, and turns out that they eat a lot of bamboo shoots and fruit, which is kind of funny considering how terrifying looking they are. You think that they, you know, would eat small animals or children, but they don't. Just fruit, really. So I just want to know all the things. So if there's something that somebody asks me or something that I come across that I don't know, I'm totally down the rabbit hole to find out what the information is. I'm just curious by nature. So with the Googling of the Woodies, I learned that, you know, they used to build these by hand, like for real, guys. Like they're like Ford, Chevy, like all of your Buick, like your main vehicle suppliers here in the US that are still very current. They were building these vehicles by hand. Like they were like every vehicle was like custom made and super pricey. Because they were built out of birch, mahogany. That's amazing to me. That's totally, I mean, that is wild that these people were, you know, taking this time to handcraft each one of these vehicles. How time consuming. And I'm sure that they were like, the craftsmanship was probably just stunning. But they obviously, like, wood is not steel, so there was like a lot of wear and tear, and it was very expensive, and they were a less popular model, so they were pretty much phased out by the 50s, which is honestly, like, that's when I think of them, like what Jan and Dean, like that's what the music my parents listened to when I was growing up. So that like very beachy vibe is what I associate those Woodies with. And so pretty much they ended up being part of that culture because nobody really wanted them. They were a lot of maintenance. And I mean, now they're like anything, you know, anything as the years go by, all of a sudden they become more rare and then people are super interested in them. But so they became like the surfer style car because A, they were long enough to fit the board in, and B, nobody was super interested in them, so they were relatively cheap. Now, the upkeep wasn't, if they were taking the time to do that, but the actual purchasing of it was, because they weren't steel. They also weren't very safe, as I'm sure you can imagine that if you get T-boned in a vehicle that's made out of wood, probably not offering a whole lot of protection like a steel vehicle would. However, you know, I used to sleep in the back of my parents' car and not wear a seatbelt. Booster seats were like not a thing when I was growing up. We all survived it. So when you know better, you do better. And, you know, once they realized that steel was something that would be a better option and a cheaper one for the manufacturers, they switched. So there's your little backstory on the Woody. Isn't that fun? For this little shack, I wanted it to feel like painted, like wood, because I don't know, I just think that that's what that would be made out of. Like, I don't imagine they're going to have aluminum siding on this little beach shack, you know, out by the ocean. So that's why you see the striations that I'm adding there. There's going to be shadows underneath the overhang of the roof. Also, where the surfboard's kind of propped up underneath that window, there'll all be shading all there. So this girlfriend trip, oh my gosh, I need it so bad. I need these people I just need them. Like, that's the spot I'm at in my life, is I just need people who will fill my soul. And that's what my girlfriends do. So I'm super excited to see them, to hang out with them. I had already taken some vacation time for a trip that we were going to take. And since it was already on the books, like, I'm just decided that, well, I'm still going to take the vacation because mama need a break. That's where I'm at in life. So just very, very excited about that. I'm trying to think what else is, so I bought a dryer. We split it 50-50, washer and dryer. So I took the washer and I needed a dryer. And this house is a cottage style house, so it is not very large. It's not super big. But the washer and the dryer go like in a hallway. And so I don't know, Facebook Marketplace, I don't know if you've ever perused on there, but when you're broke, here I am, you can find some really good deals. And so my mother, mama for the win always, was perusing on there and found me a dryer for like $65. Like, still in working condition, still like clean. I was like, this is amazing. I don't want to spend $300 on a dryer. So $65, I am sold. Here's the problem I'm having. I don't have a lot of room, and the back door opens up right into that area. So we had measured and determined that, in fact, the dryer would fit. But what I did not take into account for was the ductwork. Oh, so with the ductwork attached to the back of the dryer, it doesn't fit. It sticks out probably about 6 inches further than it should, and then I can't get my door shut. So currently, the dryer is not hooked up. It is turned the other way until I can come up with a solution, which right now is between trying the periscope. It's like a dryer vent extender, if you will. I am so not well versed in this stuff. But anyway, it's like a dryer vent extender, so it's flatter. So instead of like 6 inches, it'll stick out like 2 inches. But the only thing I don't know what that is. So the dryer vent's on the back, like that's where the hookup is. And then the hole to the outside is on like the left-hand side if you're looking at it. So I don't know how to make them friends. I don't know how to make them meet, if that's something that will work or not. So that's still in the planning stages. There's been a couple of little hurdles. I did spray outside of my house for bugs, for those of you who were concerned. There does seem to be less bugs. Also, my mother pepperminted oil, just everything in my house. So thank you for that suggestion. She read it from you guys, and then the peppermint oil punched me in the face one day when I came home from work. But something's working, whether it's the spray or the peppermint oil. Something is keeping the bugs out of my house, which is making me also very happy. Because bugs are just, I mean, I know all God's creatures serve a purpose. I'm not saying that they don't. And a lot of you will leave me comments like, you don't need to murder the spiders. You're wrong. I'm sorry. You have to murder them. I can't sleep at night just knowing that there's spiders out there that could possibly get in my house or in my room, or I'm totally creeped out just talking about it. So moving on. The bugs do seem to be less, so that is good. I have a game plan for my laundry room, which I'm excited about, to try to get that in there once I can get the dryer to work. Then to kind of make do with the space that I have, since it's so teeny tiny, I do have a game plan for that. And yeah, so things I actually have to talk about, what I'm doing in this card. Is that really what you come here for? You don't lie to me. You come here so we can be friends, which is so cute. Can I just tell you this? It's so cute when you guys send me messages and you're like, I know we're not friends, but, or I know I'm a stranger, but, we all friends here. I mean, honestly, all the things that we talk about, I share with you guys. And even though mine's, in audio, I'm sharing with you, you guys also share with me in the comments, and I love that, establishing that connection with the community. So yeah, don't send me a message and say we're not friends, because you'll hurt my feelings. I'll be mad about it. Anyway, so this, you've probably seen this before. I do this on like all of my summer cards because I love them. But if you're new here, maybe you haven't seen it. Here we are back again. I'm using super cheap white acrylic paint. And when I say super cheap, I mean I bought it for $1 at Walmart. Yes, I went into Walmart. I said the dirty word of Walmart. I don't care. I am poor. People, I'm poor. So if I got to go into the Walmart and brave the people of Walmart, then I'm gonna do it. I'm a grown woman. I can make it in and out of Walmart. But anyway, basically what I'm doing here is I just put a little bit of a drop onto an acrylic block, and then you don't want too much water because we're working with paper masks here, so you don't want a ton of water. But if you use a stiff bristled brush and a little bit of acrylic paint, if you water it down just a little bit, it'll give you some variation. If you just go straight paint, it's going to be super bright white and opaque. I like the transition between the two. And so I use that to create little waves in the ocean, and kind of like crashing on the beach, crashing on those rocks that the seagulls are standing on. And then I also use it to create clouds. So super easy, cheap chicken strikes again. Technique to do to get a really cool result. I stamped my sentiment after it was dry. You don't want to ruin your sentiment. And then I took the glitter pen and just kind of dabbed it on all of the white areas so that there was some sparkle and shine on all of my little waves that were crashing. That's the whole card. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I will be back soon with another video now that I figured out the voiceover problem I was having and I don't sound like I'm 500 feet away in a tunnel. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I will catch you on the next video. Bye.